All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Gorman on Gore. I'm your host, Peter Gorman. With me, as always, is my co-host, Jacob. Jacob, how are you doing on this fine December afternoon?
Doing okay. What's up?
Wonderful. Okay. Well, what movie are we doing today, Jacob?
We are doing The Fly. The only version of The Fly worth talking about, the Jeff Goldblum one.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
You are about to go beyond that limit.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I had them analyzed. But they were definitely not human.
If you saw how scared and angry and desperate he is.
I'm sure Typhoid Mary was a very nice person, too, when you saw her socially.
No!
You're afraid to be destroyed and recreated, aren't you?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh, no. What's happening to me? Am I dying?
I want to know what's going on.
What does the disease want?
It wants to turn me into something else.
Oh, no.
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone.
Don't go back to it. Could be contagious.
I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Help me. Please, help me.
Oh, I don't know. I was considering doing the old one first, but yeah, hell with it. I only really know that one from the scary scene at the very beginning parts of Little Monsters with Howie Mandel. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Jesus Christ. How do you
yeah.
remember that?
Well, because that scene's frightened me because there's this little noise in what's his face, the what do you call it, the Wonder Years kid, when he's going into his room and he hears the help me, and it just turns out that they're just watching the very end of that movie. And then, honestly, that scene, which I have seen before, I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen that scene, that is genuinely frightening and horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that in the movie, the guy who encounters the man with it's got a man's head on a fly body, and he's so disgusted that it's like this little thing caught in a spider's web that he just crushes the spider and the man with a rock. He's just like, ugh!
No, I appreciate that. That's pretty grim.
To me, it feels very, I don't know, either Victorian or kind of 1950s-ish, where you're just like, I don't know what to make of this. I'm just gonna crush the whole deal.
Listen, man. Sometimes you just gotta crush it with a rock.
Words to live by. But no, yeah. Today we're doing the 1986 version of The Fly, which I guess is a remake. It was directed by David Cronenberg. And honestly, I think it's his most accessible film, or at least probably. I don't know if you have anything in mind where you have more relatable characters in this one.
Jeez, yeah, it's gotta be. I mean,
well, I know because I was thinking with his other films, like The Brood or other early stuff, especially, or Scanners, or Videodrome. He doesn't really seem to care as much about characterization. He's really just getting kind of two-dimensional characters into a bizarre situation, just to explore, the physical aspects of it.
Yeah, I also feel like the gore in a lot of those movies tends to. I mean, not that this movie is gore, but it's more in service of the horror of the situation. Whereas it can feel a little gratuitous in some of his other films if you're not looking for that,
Yeah, well, I guess it's yeah. Uh, I would prefer that, like in most stories, especially horror films in particular, that like you really should get to know and care about your characters before you kill them. Uh, and this movie's great about that. Like, I love all of these characters, even the jerk editor guy, Stathis. He's great. Well, I mean, okay, character-wise, he's terrible, but what I mean is like he's played great.
Yeah, yeah. I got issues with him.
Yeah, which we will get into. So do you remember the catchphrase that came out of this movie?
No.
Oh, come on. It's the big line. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Huh. I probably should have looked at the poster for the movie.
Oh, I don't care. I just remember that like it was a huge thing for some reason. I don't know if that was even on the poster. I mean, it probably was because it was a great line. But, even if it wasn't, I just remember that's something everyone said after this movie came out. It really like seeped into the public consciousness. Okay, so we're going to soup to nuts this thing. So at the very beginning, the movie comes in super hot with the music. Did you ever see The Dead Zone?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got the same composer. I think it's this Howard Shore guy. I think he did both because like that movie very similarly, like it just comes in off of black and it's like, brr, 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 brr,
Yeah.
And like I kind of like that because it reminds me of like old timey movies where you're like, no, seriously, a movie's starting right now, where it's just like, get in on this.
Yeah. I mean, that is something I really like about this movie is that it like just gets into it.
Yeah, it's really very no nonsense. Even when it's like a sweet little, almost like a romantic comedy for a while. Like it's still very like, well, I'm not going to say by the numbers, but it is very like carefully like, I don't know, choreographed out.
Yeah.
So, do you know who produced this? I don't know if you looked that up.
I just watched the movie last night and made some notes. That's
all right. Well, I only asked because it's interesting. It's Mel Brooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brooks Films did this movie. They also did The Elephant Man by David Lynch.
Huh.
Here's some other notable things he did. Obviously, History of the World Part 1, Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Dracula Dead and Loving It, and most notably, for me at least, The Fly 2. Yeah, See, it's weird that Mel Brooks did this movie, but to me, it's even weirder that Mel Brooks did, or produced rather, The Fly 2.
Yeah. I mean, I briefly browsed the Wikipedia page, and I guess the cast was willing to come back for the second one, which
Really?
is surprising to me.
I'm shocked, actually. Okay, well, that is for another day, because actually I do want to cover that film as well. I mean, in all actuality, I would love to cover every horror movie that's ever been made, also every horror movie in the future, plus all the ones that I can't possibly do because I'll be dead. So, we'll just try to do this in no particular order, but I just think like in a way that's at least interesting for us, if not the audience,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I'm going to try to mix in like some new and some old and all of that, and also just weird things that I think are notable and people should see.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've talked about this, but like if I had my way, we would have started with The Fly too.
Started with The Fly.
I know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm tempted by the notion of doing franchises in reverse order. I don't know if I've committed to that yet, because it's like you start with the worst and then you work your way backwards.
Well, I just like The Fly too. I mean, like the fact that we're talking about the first one is like, to me, we're doing that to get to The Fly too.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, honestly, like, I just love how weird it is, and yeah, so I would love to get to that too, and we will. But I don't know. At least for now, I want to try to keep things a little conventional and start with the good movie, or at least the better one, and then we'll work our way in, right?
Yeah, okay. But like The Fly 2 is a good movie though.
It has that lady from Spaceballs in it. I've forgotten her name already. The leading lady, Princess Vespa.
I'm right with you there on forgetting her name. So
It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it does to her. So I'm sorry. I apologize to that actress. She's great. But yeah, it's very. The first time I saw that movie, I was like, wow, it's so weird that she's in this. And like now that I know it was made by the same producers, it makes more sense.
mhm.
Okay, so the very first thing I wrote about this film is baby Jeff Goldblum.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, well, okay, the opening shot is like right on his face, and like, and you forget how young he is in this movie, or at least I did, until you see it. He is so young in this.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, I knew him first from Jurassic Park. So I was, this is how I know Jeff Goldblum. This isn't unusual to me.
Well, I guess it's more just that I've kept up with his work up until recently. I was thinking like, like Thor Ragnarok and whatnot. He's quite old at this point.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy to forget that he was a young man once in doing Buckaroo Banzai and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's true. Buckaroo Banzai.
And well, let me think if I can remember the name. The Travels to the 11th Dimension. No, that's not it. I'm not going to get it right. So
Yeah,
I'm going to give up already. It's something about journeys across. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be at it all day if I keep trying. So anyway, this is the first time Geena Davis and Jeff Goldblum form a union in a strange sci-fi film, and it's actually not the last. Because then, like 2 years later, they do 1988's Earth Girls Are Easy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where he's an alien. I can't remember which kind of color fur he's covered with, but he shaves it off, and then he becomes a beautiful man.
That movie disturbed me for reasons that I can't fully articulate.
Yeah, well, there's a bizarre, almost innocence to it, and yeah, also just the idea that like you can shave an alien and then you're allowed to have sex with them is real. It feels real wrong to me.
I mean, personally, you do you. Like, if you want to be with an alien, that's fine by me.
When I first was looking through this stuff, I was convinced that Earth Girls Are Easy was the earlier movie because it looks so much more like crappy than this one does.
Yeah.
Because, The Fly by Cronenberg is a real movie, whereas Earth Girls Are Easy is more of a silly movie and is a lot more 80s than this movie is.
Yeah, there's an interesting quality to this film where, like, you look at other movies made around the time and they feel very of the era.
Yeah.
But this one's a bit more indistinct.
I think it's because of the no-nonsense way that Cronenberg does stuff. Because, like, as far as I can tell, I mean, the movie opens with him at a science convention. I don't remember if they specify what it is exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some kind of science convention. But he seems to be there to just hit on women, as far as I can tell.
That was the implication. At least what I picked up.
Because he doesn't want to talk to anyone about anything.
No.
He doesn't want to reveal what he's doing or why he's doing it. But he's at a talk. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he gave a lecture on like some kind of related science, but like didn't get into what he was doing. But like right off the bat, he's talking to Geena Davis and she's a reporter, like obviously a reporter. And
yeah.
She gets bored by her conversation with him and walks away, which I thought was amazing. I totally forgot that happened. And he has to go to her and be like, no, wait. What I'm talking about is interesting. Like, I'm a real guy. And she says she has like 3 other people to interview. So like later on, he's like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't know you were a reporter. He 100% knew she was a reporter.
Oh yeah, there was no way. Which is why I think he was there to, pick up a reporter lady or someone.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, otherwise I can't figure out. I mean, I was thinking maybe he was like really enamored with her, like I was thinking like if a director other than Cronenberg had done this, there would almost certainly have been some kind of a setup scene where you see him spot Geena Davis from afar, become enamored with her, maybe enjoy something she has to say, that kind of stuff. But no, Cronenberg just cuts the fat and gets right to the point of the scene.
Yeah.
And then just exiting it. So he's just like, I'm already interested in you, and I want you to come check something out in my creepy warehouse.
It's to the benefit of the movie.
Honestly, yes. It's like, you know what? That's the only purpose of this scene in this convention is to leave this convention. So let's do that.
Well, yeah, because like the alternative is doing the typical thing where like they have him doing that speech about like the importance of teleportation, and everyone's like,
yeah, I'm glad we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
You'd have to say something vague, and then they would have put it in the trailer.
jeez. Yeah.
If it was made now, that's what it would be, And he'd be like, I envision a future where things can get from one place to another with no effort at all. That whole thing.
We really need to stop inventing worse versions of movies that already exist. It's really bad.
Okay, well, here's the upside of this is that, like, because this is, I'll just say this now. This is a good movie, at least relatively. I don't have to spend nearly as much time workshopping how to make this movie not bad.
No.
So, I feel like this is the only way to go, is maybe backtrack a little and be like, well, here's how they could have messed it up,
I'll say I think it's a good movie in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to like qualify that with for a
horror film.
Yeah.
No, I know. It's actually it's quite good.
Yeah.
For like almost any film. I just think that maybe because of how horrible things go by the second half, that it's only going to keep a certain amount of people. But I think you could have lured in almost anybody with the beginning,
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I was like, I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen this film, but I totally forgot that Jeff Goldblum in this movie is like motion sick in the car. It just gives him like a little backstory for like why he invented teleportation in the first place.
See, okay, we were just talking about things that would be in a worse movie. I feel like that was a bit much.
You think that was a little on the nose?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah. I'm a little like on the fence about it. I think it's nice to just give him like maybe an incentive to do something, like unconventional, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a little too related to like exactly what he's doing.
Well, also, like, do you need to have some sort of like, I don't want to call it like a quirk, but like something like that to think that teleportation would be useful or something worth like exploring or investing in?
That's the other thing. Like, there is so much that he has to offer with this machine that is never really explored. And I do want to get into all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I do love like when they get to his spooky warehouse, she's just like, this is it. And he's like, it's cleaner on the inside.
Yeah.
Which it definitely is not, by the way. It's filthy in there too.
Yeah.
I guess it's a little cleaner. Because like the outside looks like a set from RoboCop.
Yeah, the thing that gets me though is that he's such a creep throughout this whole like process.
It's implied he's a creep.
Well, yeah, but it's like through this whole bit, it's like I feel like it could only be Jeff Goldblum doing this, because like if it were anyone else, it would just be like, get out of there. Get out of there.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I was about to say that. This is like peak Goldblum. He is like uber adorable in this movie.
Yeah.
This is like his best foot forward. Like, this is his most quirky and young and vibrant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you can get away with quite a lot if you if you look like Jeff Goldblum. Or maybe if you just have his host of bizarre eccentricities,
Yeah, it's interesting because like I do think that I mean he definitely has like a personality that kind of translates across his roles, but like it doesn't feel like he's phoning it in like he kind of does in some of his later work,
or his earlier work.
Yeah,
like Buckaroo Banzai.
No, he cares. He cares.
Actually, I don't really remember. And maybe I'm not being fair to that performance.
No, I just don't want...
You know what?
I just don't want
Comment rescinded.
Yeah, I just don't want you insulting the movie. I like it.
Yeah, don't you dare besmirch that film.
Yeah, honestly. It's one of 3 movies I have on Blu-ray.
You have that on Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so I have this written down that Goldblum's warehouse setup is some sort of boyhood dream of mine. Just bookshelves and weird machines.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like it doesn't feel like there's like a consistent setup because it does feel like you wonder where stuff is in relation to everything.
it's
But
yeah. Well, I mean, it's essentially a studio apartment, but it's a studio. Well, it's just a warehouse, you know.
with also like what was it like 8 flights of stairs?
Oh, yeah, that's true. And I think they only have those stairs as just like a reason for him to be strong later in the movie, you know.
Yeah, I
But yeah, I don't know, like, you know, honestly, part of me still kind of longs for this kind of ridiculous, unconventional setup where you just like live in a really bizarre place and you just have all your crap just arrayed out in a big dusty room, you know, it just however you want with like the weird industrial lights coming down. Like, there's something kind of awesome about it.
oh yeah, no, I mean it's dirty as hell, but it is cool.
Yeah.
I won't deny that.
I also like how prominently he puts that piano like right near the entrance so that he can impress whoever, I guess women or whoever he thinks is going to be coming over.
It's definitely women.
Yeah.
He-
I wrote, has serenading a woman with a piano ever worked?
Probably.
I mean, I would assume in the past, but I was just thinking like you can kind of almost tell how out of it he is. That like, you know, he just thinks that like, oh, I'll just play like a little ditty for Geena Davis and she'll be very impressed.
I don't know. I feel like I can only speak from the male perspective, but like I'd be intrigued at like at the minimum if someone decided to show off their piano skills to me.
Well, I guess it shows that he has that kind of discipline.
Yeah.
Also, it's really impressive that it's like it's a one take and it's him. It's not like, you know, where they switched hands to some other dude who, you know, who actually played the piano. It's actually Jeff Goldblum playing that little, you know, little ditty at the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos to Goldblum.
He's a talented man.
Oh yeah, and then also he plays that little like ominous music sting when like when he says that she can't leave now that he's showed her the setup.
I wrote a note about that, and it just says the dangers of following Jeff Goldblum back to his place.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, granted, like she would not have any idea of what's going on because, like, to her, it all just looks like, you know, just gobbledygook. You know, up until he basically has to very carefully explain it to her.
Yeah, that is. I understand that some of it's for the audience benefit, but like, she really doesn't get it. Like,
I don't know. I was thinking like throughout the movie, people keep saying things like, "Are you a magician?" And I was just thinking like that would be really hard to disprove. You know, like when you're trying to like if he had ever finished his telepods, would it have come to a point where he would have to be like, "No, for real, this actually works." You know, it was destroyed here and now it's recreated there.
I mean, I think people are always going to be skeptical of that kind of thing, but I think that you know, it wouldn't come down to it like that. I feel like if if you give a sufficient demonstration, people are gonna like figure it out.
Yeah, it's just well, I would call it a minor gripe of mine. I would just say that like I would almost like it if like by this point in his life he actually gets a little mad when people say that. He's just like, "No, it's for real. I'm a physicist or whatever I am."
Yeah, I guess I can see that, but like that also kind of plays back into the whole like typical like nobody's taking my miraculous invention seriously thing that so many of these movies do.
Yeah. I do like see he shows her the setup, you know, the bizarre telepods, and they look awesome by the way.
Oh yeah. Classic.
Apparently they were fashioned after like some car part that Cronenberg had on like one of his cars or something.
They do look like a car part though.
Yeah. And I what I love almost more than the telepods themselves is the Commodore 64 looking keyboard and some Star Wars red and green lights that are just blinking on like the right side of it.
I mean, that's how you know it's science.
Yeah, and I wrote at some point when he's trying to explain this all to Geena Davis about what this is and why this is. I just like, is this like a Captain Nemo situation? Because like in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, nobody knows he built the Nautilus. He made all these independent contracts, and they all just sent the stuff to him, and then he assembled it.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out like that's exactly what happened. Jeff Goldblum just like made contracts with like a whole bunch of people, and then he said he was just more of like a projects manager, just bringing in the pieces.
Yeah, I actually like that aspect. I feel like that's pretty like it feels more feasible,
Yeah, well, in a lot of ways, because like then you don't even have to explain how it works because he doesn't know for sure how it works.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it works, doesn't it? I'm just more of a theoretical guy.
That's true. And
I mean, I could see something that destroys something easy. Like you could build a weird raid machine of some sort that just gets rid of something. It's just the more bringing it back part that bothers me. I'm like, how do you reconstitute a thing that doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah.
And it's better just honestly to just turn that part of your brain off because the movie's not going to explain it to you.
No, nor does it go into any ethical issues about like, is the person who comes out of the other side the same person as the other, person who entered? Do they die?
Yeah. I mean, maybe. But I don't know. That seems like too much trouble.
No.
I think people would probably just ignore that.
I'm very glad that the movie doesn't try and like tack that onto it. But, that is part of it.
Yeah. So Brundle, I'm going to start using his name in the movie because I think this is when they finally start calling him Brundle.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Seth Brundle, and he uses voice analysis as a password on the console. And this is just the worst idea.
I thought it was cool.
Well, I mean, it is cool, but I was just thinking, like, this is 1988. It's not peak voice recognition technology. I mean, think of how many times you've shouted to your home theater device, Alexa or Cortana or whoever, and like it misinterprets what you're saying, and it's like, oh, I'll send you these socks right away. Like, no, not the socks. So, like, I just don't feel like this was ever going to work. I feel like he did this to just be clever. And you can see it's stupid right off the bat because he has to whisper a command into the machine, so that Geena Davis won't hear it.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was trying to be like I don't know, maybe he was trying to go for a kind of a magician thing. Maybe he doesn't want her to know what's about to happen. So he doesn't tell her it's going to teleport. He has to, like, whisper it into the machine.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, you wouldn't really have much else reason to hide it. I mean, it's voice recognition, so she couldn't, like, she couldn't, just knowing the password wouldn't do anything.
I guess that's true. So, okay, I like also that in the beginning of the movie, you can kind of tell that, like, Geena Davis is kind of playing the role as sort of cynical and kind of like a hard-boiled reporter lady, or at least kind of, and like, and it's this weird mix of things, like, because he asks for something personal, which again sounds like a magician, and she's like, "Well, I don't have jewelry, so I guess we'll have to use my stocking. Let me just take this off in front of you." And honestly, I'm so glad they didn't do like, like the pan down or like having Goldblum do like ridiculous eyes while she's doing it or whatever. No, he's super nice, and he just takes it and he's like, "Wow, this is really nice," and he just puts it into his machine.
Yeah.
And it vanishes. And I just want to put a little button in this part, like right here, because like, if nothing else worked, if that's all it did, that would still be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Because the military would love to have a death ray like that. You could just vaporize stuff with like a flash of energy. I mean, I was also thinking like, well, you could do things like, I mean, we're always having garbage storage issues. You could just have these things like in a garbage dump and you would just like vaporize all the garbage, like, parcel by parcel until it's all gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. There might be an assumption that it's supposed to come out on the other end somewhere, but like, I don't know. I don't know that I believe that for sure. Like, we don't really know how it works though, so maybe Maybe it does build up or something, or into the air. I don't know where it's supposed to go.
The movie, uh, thankfully, doesn't go into that too much.
No. However, there was in an earlier draft of the movie, there was something about that where they mentioned it's the first mention of the infamous cat monkey scene, or is it MonkeyCat? Well, I forget which one they call it. But originally, it was actually an error in the machine. Brundle makes it by accident because he tries to move, to teleport one of his baboons that he has, and an accident. Or actually, I think it was a cat, but it still had the baboon in it, or maybe it was vice versa. But one way or the other, one of them was still in the ether, and the other one, like it got grafted onto it when they came out on the other side. So yeah, in a way, like by trying to answer a question, it's like you create more questions.
Yeah, which in a movie like this is why you don't even try and raise them in the first place.
Yeah. And I just wrote that at this point that Geena Davis is a little incredulous at first, but shouldn't she be more so? Isn't the more likely answer that Goldblum just planted something that looks like her stocking in the receiving telepod?
I mean, it's pretty specific, though. Would you really? Do you really think that Jeff Goldblum would be the kind of guy to keep around a woman stalking?
Not Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of more professional magicians will research people beforehand and will figure stuff out about them so that they can use it to their advantage later. It just once again goes to the magician theory of all of this.
Yeah, I guess I can see that, but I feel like for someone just like off, not off the street, but just like, you're just meeting this guy. I feel like you would maybe be less inclined to go for the more extreme, like, he's been doing research on me kind of a thing.
No, I don't. I'm not proposing that this would ever be in the movie.
No,
what I'm saying is that like it might occur to her that that's what he's doing. You're like, wait a minute, I'm onto your act.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just more open to this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, even if all he did, like I said before, if all he did was make her stocking disappear and then he put in a sham, it's still kind of amazing he made her stocking disappear.
Yeah.
He did it right in front of her. There was no flash or anything.
I mean, there is a bit of a flash when the machine turns on.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you see, there's that weird thing where like it does like a radar like rotation over it with like particles, like it's like being beamed up or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so she records. Well, she surreptitiously records what they're saying. After a while, when she starts to believe him, I suppose. And then she's like, "Hey, is this cool if if I go tell everyone about this? Because I'm a reporter." And he gets real bent out of shape.
Absolutely incredulous at the idea that a reporter would record someone and then want to tell people about his fantastical invention that he willingly showed off to a woman that he knew was a reporter.
She works for Particle Magazine, damn it. Which has totally stood the test of time. Well, I don't know that it ever existed, but magazines in general, really.
Yeah, I can't really sympathize with this outrage on this one.
Yeah, well, the only way I can think charitably for his position is that he was so into her that it didn't even occur to him in his naivete that her job was to be a journalist, even though she said it to his face. Like maybe he wasn't listening. I don't know.
He was just too horny.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but Enchanted. How about that?
I mean, same thing, really.
Yeah. So, anyway, either way, she takes the tape to work, and her sleazy ex-boyfriend boss immediately disbelieves, as any sane person would.
Yes.
Which I wrote and then triple underlined. Because if someone came into your office and was like, "Oh, hey, I went to this weird guy's apartment and he made something disappear and then reappear, and I want to write an article about it," you'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh yeah, this is like the one time in the movie where he's a reasonable human being.
Oh, yeah, the guy's name is Stathis. I forget his first name, but yeah, he's the editor of Particle magazine, and they apparently had some sort of like what I would assume is like a cynical prior relationship out of convenience that just recently broke up, and he's totally not over it.
Oh yeah, he feels like weirdly entitled to her.
I wonder if that's maybe the only like vestigial 80s part of the movie, that like his behavior is considered more okay at the time. I'm not sure if that's true though.
No, I don't think there was no point where that was okay. I don't think. Well,
I mean, yeah, he really flips out later and he stalks her and other things. So yeah, there's all of that.
Yeah, I did write a note for later on where it's boss just asking employee for casual sex. 80s thing? Question mark?
Question mark? Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe. The one thing I do like about him, though, is that in his office, there is a copy of Carl Sagan's book, Contact, very prominently displayed on the shelf.
I didn't notice that. Huh.
I also wrote a little note that I love 1980s office set designs.
Yeah. There is something just kind of interesting with that particular period.
It's a weird mix of like innocence and optimism, but also being a little sleazy and gross,
Yeah, I always kind of chalked it up to like businessmen like still being seen as like cool.
Yeah. Success is cool, kids.
Yeah.
Before the 90s when it became not cool, and then the various economic disruptions, and now it's kind of cool again because you at least have a job.
There you go.
At least you're alive. That's where we're at now, right?
Jesus.
I can almost just like see like the cloud of like sadness just settling over your head when I said that.
Yeah, that was a little grim.
So Goldblum goes right to her office. I actually love like they wrote it this way because it just really condenses the scenes. They're like, well, let's just do it like a stage play and just have everyone come in. So she makes her presentation. He doesn't believe her, the editor, and then Jeff Goldblum, Brundle, just comes right in like a minute later.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, how'd it go? Is my really important project ruined forever? And she's like, no, he didn't believe you. He thinks you're a sham. And he's just like, oh, thank God.
He's so happy.
Yeah. And then he finally, like, this is when the movie, like, becomes adorable for like just a brief while. And he says, I've come here to say one magic word to you. You remember the magic word?
Peter, please.
Do you not remember? Or you just not want to say
it? No, I just don't remember.
Oh my God. It's cheeseburger.
Oh, right. Damn
it. and she says it again to him later in the movie. Like it becomes like almost like a little mini thing with them.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It struck a chord with me because it's a genuinely adorable line. And he like opens both of his hands when he says it, like it's like this mind-blowing thing. He's just like, cheeseburger. I mean, I don't know. As far as like wooing a lady, like this is the most plausible Goldblum I in the movie so far for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, he is genuinely charming in this movie.
That's true.
I mean.
So yeah, they go. So next, they go to a restaurant and they're eating really just horrible looking burgers. I don't think they even show the patties. They're just like really like rough looking buns.
Okay, I wanted to mention something about that. She picks a piece of lettuce off of her burger at one point.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah.
That really bothered me.
Why?
Who does that?
I don't know.
Why?
You don't like it when people pick at their food?
I'm just saying it's not part of like how you eat a burger. Pick it apart.
Dude, that's not burger canon.
Yeah, actually, this is a little upsetting.
Well, if it's a really like overheaping burger, like if there's a lot of ingredients, sometimes I'll just eat the stuff that falls out separately just to make less of a mess, I guess.
Oh, sure. Like that's different though. You're not like picking stuff that is like still on the burger.
Oh, I see. I in college, when I was on those horrible food plans, I would eat a burger with a knife and fork because I stacked it too high. And I remember that, like, I felt so proud of myself as a man one day when I was there with a bunch of girls who lived across the hall. We were all on good terms, and this one girl said, that is the like I forget exactly what she said. It was like, that is the most womanly thing I've ever seen. Someone eating a burger with a knife and fork. And to my credit, for the first time in my life, I felt like not the least bit ashamed. I'm just like, oh, well, to hell with you then. I ate my burger.
I don't even. I don't see that as being a womanly thing. That's just like.
I don't know if that's what she said. Maybe I'm misremembering. It was something like that though, or she might have said girly or something like that. But yeah, I was just thinking like, when you're younger and more insecure, things like that. When you hear from the opposite sex, when they like throw something at, like it could be crushing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's almost a relief as you get older that you realize you just don't have to give a damn. You're just like, I'm comfortable in myself. I'll eat this burger however I want.
Yeah.
Conventions be damned. So I guess, bottom line, I'm not super against Geena Davis just picking at her burger.
All right, fair enough.
So yeah, he talks about how he's held up by, like, he's only able to teleport inanimate objects. Why doesn't he just do that? Why more,
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. That is pretty fantastical, no matter how you, the limitation.
I mean, well, his goal for his current project is just to teleport something 15 feet. So I have my own personal pet theory that it takes too much energy. So, like, maybe it would never have gone super far. But if it did, like if it just required a line, you could transport, like, I don't know, an entire car, like, to another continent or something like that,
Yeah.
Like, shipping costs are expensive. If it just took a flash of energy and, like, in a line that's maintained, like, it would bring costs down to zero. That would, like, revolutionize the entire economy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like, even if he just presented that, he can get so much more money to then make that improvement.
I mean, yeah, he could just sell, like, the Model 1. This is a telepod Model 1. Do not put any organic matter in here. We will not be held liable for the inside out thing that comes out on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there might be, like, an issue about what's considered organic or not. Like, is wood organic? Like, would it get all screwed up if it's in there? Or, like, he says inanimate, so maybe he just means, like, not alive. So that might just be it. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the implication. Or,
I mean, personally, I wouldn't be sending, like, grain or something, because I feel like it probably can't replicate, like, living stuff or prior living stuff. Well, yeah, that's right. Because later on, he teleports the steak and it's already dead, and it still tastes weird.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. So, yeah, it must be that, like, it's non-living matter. So probably, like, yeah, inorganic stuff, I think, is probably the better term he should have used.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But even if that's all it was, like I was saying, that's still amazing,
Yeah.
Like, what I'd be like, I need to get these steel beams, from the East Coast to the West Coast. I'll just put them into this crazy telepod.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's incredibly useful. Yeah.
So over their terrible-looking burgers, Brundle, Goldblum. I don't know which I'm going to settle with. I think I'll try to go with Brundle. He suggests that Geena Davis writes a book for him, or about him, to get in on the ground floor, a complete record of the most earth-shattering invention ever.
Which, honestly, is a good excuse for them to keep interacting, because otherwise it's kind of hard to justify a lot of the rest of the movie.
Well, you know what? If you think about it anyway, I mean, well, he's looking for excuses to have her in his life.
Yeah.
Because, he likes her quite a lot. I don't know. It seems like she likes him too eventually, but not right away. So yeah, it does seem like he's just maneuvering to be like, hey, you could just hang around and take notes and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Very smooth.
Yeah. So, she agrees because, like, it is honestly, like, the most amazing invention maybe ever. So, yeah, it's probably a good idea to just, like, get in, write a nice book about it, be the first.
Mm-hmm.
And then Geena Davis goes home and finds her boss Stathis in her shower. This is beyond creepy.
Yeah. I like that's what I'm talking about, like with the weird like entitlement to her thing, Rick.
Yeah, I guess that's what that would indicate, right?
Yeah, that's the really that's not okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, he says, like, oh, I still got the house key. I can just come in when I feel like it. I was feeling kind of grimy on my way home, so I came in here.
I feel like I would have asked for the key back.
Yeah, she didn't, and I don't know why for sure. Like, it's a little bit of ambivalence because she's clearly hostile to him, like, and has felt her privacy, like, rightfully invaded, but is still just sort of, she says she's, what, too disorganized and lazy to change the locks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like that they keep it a little vague with her, because you just don't know what exactly her motives are one way or the other. In real life is weird like that sometimes.
Sure, but I feel like if you're at the point where you're like considering changing your locks, you also might want to just get the key back. And also,
yeah, no, what he did is unforgivable. I'm not going to agree with him, but what I'm getting at more is that Geena Davis being like a little like flawed fits well with Jeff Goldblum's character Brundle also being flawed. So yeah.
Sure, yeah. Also, don't work for that guy.
Well, yeah. You don't always get to choose your job.
I guess.
Although she sort of did, because later on she says that he was like her college professor, and
that's right.
Got her into the profession or something.
Yeah.
So I guess it was maybe it was like a girl. I was gonna say girlhood, but I guess I don't know, womanhood, whatever. But like sort of like a crush that just sort of, went for a while and then like wore away.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the creepy alternate ending, which I will discuss later, like they seem to have gotten back together, which I do not approve of at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, so Stathis says that he dug into Brundle a bit and he found that he was part of the F-32 project. I don't know if that's a real thing or not. It sounds impressive.
Yeah.
And also that he almost won a Nobel Prize in his 20s. Which is great. I like that it's just like almost. You're like, yeah, he's pretty smart. Maybe not the best, but he's real smart.
Do they even? I mean, I guess he was like nominated or whatever. How does that work?
Yeah, you're nominated.
Okay,
I think, and I think you're nominated by someone on the board or whatever, and then they like all vote. So at least a couple people thought he was worthy of it for whatever his prior work was. Okay, so then we start getting into the unfortunate scenes because Brundle has to prove to her that the teleporter doesn't work for organic matter. I feel like it wasn't necessary. It is for the audience, though. It's wonderful. And I love that Cronenberg is like, hey, we just had a scene where he was talking about how he couldn't teleport living stuff. Well, how do we prove this? I guess we could just show them in a real gross and horrible scene.
I mean, if they hadn't, I would have been curious.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you kind of have to see it. I mean, like, even though it's horrible, you have to be like, well, what happens? It would drive you crazy if you didn't see it.
Yeah, come on. Explode that monkey.
So you got to cut the fat. Just get right to that scene. There's no intermediate scenes where there's more relationship building. He's like, just get right to the scene.
Okay.
I don't think he even established he has baboons before.
Yeah, I want to talk about that briefly.
Okay.
So, he, over the course of this movie, goes through a number of baboons.
Does he?
Yeah. One is partially a deleted scene, but
the MonkeyCat scene.
In any case, it's established that he has, for whatever reason, multiple baboons. Why?
Well, I think if I was him, I would have started with mice. That's usually how you go when you start doing like live animal testing.
Yeah, that's the thing, because he talks about how he isn't very expensive, so he has that funding. But like baboons are baboons
he had a real creepy name for the company. I think it's called Bartok Science Industries. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. It sounds like some creepy consortium or something, you know?
Yeah, but like baboons aren't cheap. Also, where do you even get baboons?
I thought originally they were mandrills. And when I wrote these notes, the whole time I wrote mandrill. And then I had sense enough to go look it up, and they're like, no, they're actually baboons. And I was like, damn it, I thought I was being the smart one. Because I think mandrills are bigger and they're like cooler looking. They have like the colorful faces.
Yeah,
but I realized that's actually not what these are. Yeah, they really are just baboons with their less fun faces.
Yeah, I always remember the difference because of the movie Shakma.
Of course.
Well, I mean, you get, baboons are like, they're horrifying, but they're also kind of cute.
Yeah, and that was the big downfall of that film, that they were just too adorable to be afraid of.
Well, I mean, he's like, Jeff Goldblum is like petting it, and it's like all like cuddly with him. It has its hair all combed out. It's cute, but then again, it's also pretty big and could probably tear him in half if he really had a mind to do so.
So, to get back to it, the horrible eventuality, just to sort of prove it to Geena Davis's character, he sticks a baboon in the teleporter, comes out the other side. It's got the dramatic, what do you call it, the mist this time. I wonder if it just happens naturally for big objects, but it seems more just like a movie thing where you want to obscure what's in there for a minute,
Yeah, it's dramatics.
So then a bloody paw hits the glass pane, and you're like, oh, this has gone terribly. Honestly, I was thinking just before that, maybe he tried to change the codes. Maybe this is a jump cut over time. So maybe he was like, okay, I think I've got it this time. So now I'm going to prove it, But I don't know if that's true. He might have just done it just to show her. Yeah, it could be that way.
No.
I hope not.
I watched this movie last night. I should remember more of this. But I got the impression they tried something different this time.
I hope that, yeah, because that makes more sense. And it also makes him look way less horrible.
Hey,
he should be doing it on mice, but at least he gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, hey, want to see a dead body?
Yeah, want to see what happens?
Yeah, I don't think that's how it played out. I don't think that was the intent.
Yeah. So then you see the Inside Out baboon in there. It looks a little like an Inside Out dog. I think that's just a coincidence.
I mean,
it's pretty horrible.
I gotta be honest. I feel like most animals are gonna look pretty similar when you turn them inside out.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I
was thinking, I don't know why it does that. I mean, it seems like it should just make a copy, but it's just dead, or all pale and limp, and maybe it would feel weird because it's not put together right, But that's way less dramatic than having it be inside out and still alive somehow.
Yeah. Also, you remember who directed this movie?
Yeah. Well, Cronenberg's always looking for his reasons. He wants that. So yeah.
No, I buy it. I mean, it's put together, but all the parts are all fucked up. I mean, messed up.
Yeah. It's fine.
You can cut that out.
Yeah. So yeah, there's an indication that he is hampered by his loneliness and solitude. The secret of the flesh eludes him. Yeah. And so it's nice actually. I like that they give her, even if it's an indirect hand in it, she does. I mean, she inspires him, becomes sort of his muse. And during their little conversations, I love that scene where he's laying on the bed, and she's just like, "Why are you always wearing the same thing?" And he's like, "No, this isn't the same thing. This is fresh. I've got 5 sets of the same suit."
Yeah, no, that whole the secret ingredient was feelings thing which is that is what happens, but
yeah, essentially
yeah,
yes.
it would bother me more if it wasn't in service of like giving her a more active role in the movie. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's a valid point, just because he's trying to replicate life, and it probably, it has more to do with like irrational things that have to do with being alive. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, Peter, life is cold and mechanistic.
Yeah, I prefer the Inception theory, where everything is based on love and it can travel through time. Damn it!
That also didn't bother me as much as it bugs some people.
It really bothers some people, especially the hard science lot.
Yeah.
But no, I think having love in your movie is always nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It gave the movie more like an emotional edge to it, which is, whatever. It worked in the movie's favor.
Yeah. So Geena Davis says, that he's very cute, and in her defense, he is. And then they consummate under some old-timey warehouse skylights that I think look awesome. I don't know if you remember that shot, but they just go up and look at like the skylight windows, and then it like pans down to them on the bed. Like, I love warehouse skylights. I just think they're great.
But for whatever reason, it reminded me of like it feels like a very Batman shot.
Yeah, kind of. And then, in a bit of creepy foreshadowing, Brundle lays on a bit of electronics. I'm not sure what it is, like a cathode or something, and it like stabs his back.
Oh yeah.
And they have to like pull it out. It's interesting because the movie tries to warn you. It's like, hey, listen, guys, we just turned a baboon inside out. This guy just stabbed himself with some random thing. Like, something bad's gonna happen, guys. You got to keep this in mind. But honestly, like, in my sweetness, especially as a child, I didn't want to believe it. I'm like, oh, I'm sure this will work out.
Yeah. Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. Although I think my earliest memory of this film is the later on the arm wrestling scene, which we will get to, of course. Oh God, I think that ruined many a childhood.
What do you mean? That scene was awesome.
We will get to it. So, okay, but where we are now, Brundle ruins a steak running it through the telepod. Just a waste of like a beautiful steak. It's funny, like in the earlier scene, Geena Davis is like, "Hey, I brought steaks in." She says it kind of just offhandedly, because they're starting to develop their little relationship thing. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of a superfluous thing to say in a Cronenberg movie, where everything's paint by numbers, or no, we're not paint by number. You know what I mean? It's all very matter of fact and to get to a desired end, And it turns out it is, because he needs that steak, because he's going to cut it in half and send half of it through and half of it, he'll just cook and let her try both, And she says that the one that went through tastes synthetic, and he realizes, from their consummation, we shall say, that that he gets the inspiration, like about pinching baby's cheeks and feeling that warmth and vibrance, and that he will somehow convey this to his computer. I don't know how you would translate that in the code, but he endeavors to do so.
Yeah. And he does somehow.
Yeah.
Which is,
and honestly, it's sweet. In a nicer movie, like this would almost be near the end of the film, actually, where it's just like, wow, that was nice, and then it's just, and then they debuted the telepod. He became a cajillionaire, and she was the proud wife / reporter who did other great things.
Yeah.
And off into the sunset they went. But that
no,
was not to be in
but
this
also
film.
like even then, so maybe this is like some Luddite instinct in me, but the idea of teaching a computer like feelings is a little creepy to me. I don't like it.
You don't like it? And also, it was the 80s, so like it's even harder to do then than it is now.
Yeah.
So I think it's more that he's translating like what he thinks that stuff is into code, like using heuristics for like the response to internal systems, I guess. I don't know.
But like once a computer and a machine knows emotions, it can use them against you.
Yeah. Well, the other question is that do you need to teleport something to make it? Or I guess that seems to be true, because otherwise you could just have the teleporter just make a bunch of copies of you when you're not in it, and you could just like have them walking around doing your jobs and stuff, like multiplicity.
Yeah, that's another horrifying thought.
I'd like to have an extra me or two. You could do different careers. You could figure out which one of you did best. That
But they'd
kind of
all
thing.
think they're you. They wouldn't just do what you say
They wouldn't just think that. They would be right. I'm not so like purist about the soul of a person. I think that every one of them has just as much right to exist as I do. So like you would just be like, here's me doing another thing.
Well, sure, but that's what I'm saying. Is like you couldn't like get them to like do your laundry. They'd be like, I got my own life.
Oh yeah. I guess that's true. Maybe for the first week or two, they'd be like, yeah, I'll do this. And after a while, they're like, no, I'm still a person. I'm just going to go do whatever.
Or they might be like, if I kill him, I become the original.
Yeah. I will absorb.
Oh no, you just like if you kill the original, then there's only one left. Like who's to say? Think about it.
Yeah. So, this is the part of the movie where it's revealed that the boss was waiting for her outside like all night, I think.
Yep, like
just waiting in his
a
car.
very normal thing for a healthy, well-adjusted human being to do.
For a boss, an editor to do of one of your employees.
Doesn't he have a job? Come on.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if like being an editor-in-chief or whatever he is probably sporadic work. Like he probably doesn't have to do stuff every day. Maybe he only goes into the office sometimes,
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like you have to be a little bit more hands-on.
Yeah, or maybe he's just really bad at his job.
Yeah, there you go. He could just be,
I mean, I don't want to give it away, but later on, they show that picture that he makes, for Jeff Goldblum's, Seth Brundle's teleportation machine, and it just looks terrible.
I love it.
Yeah, it's very 80s in like a bad way. In their defense, it did look a little like it did in like popular science magazines of the day.
Yeah. No, it felt authentic.
Yes, it's authentic. Period.
Yeah.
So then they run the baboon number 2 through the teleporter. It's okay, but then again, it can't really talk about how it feels, so we don't really know like how it's doing.
No.
I mean, here's where here's the big tragic turn, because right after that, Geena Davis is like, oh hey, well the baboon looks okay, but like you said it would be a couple of weeks of testing before we find out for sure. We should go on a vacation like an old married couple, and it all sounds so lovely, and then at that very moment, as if written by David Cronenberg, he gets she gets in the mail, but at his house. So wait a minute. So Stathis mailed it to him, but with her name on it.
Yeah.
Just to like embarrass her in front of him?
Or just as like a spiteful, like, I know you're with him kind of a thing. I don't know. Like, something like that.
Well, I mean, I forgot to mention, but yeah, he tracked her down in a department store while she was buying Brundle a jacket, and just flips out and goes on his knees and is like, you're going, you're justifying all of the things, all my worst fears, or whatever. He's just flipping out, and and then he does this. So I mean,
also something that a woman always wants to hear and is very attractive in a man.
Just his worst fears just childishly flowing out of him in a public place in front of everybody.
Don't you understand how insecure I am?
Yeah. I'll give you this dagger so you can stab me with it. Just do it. End my pain.
It's embarrassing for both parties, because like it sucks for her, but for him it's just like, dude. Like,
so it's implied, I guess, that he is retaliating by like running with her story way before it's ready, and also in his defense, it is a wonderful picture of Jeff Goldblum's face, like it's a great portrait. But then there's like these silly like sci-fi like phone booth looking things with like lightning bolts between them to be like, oh, look at his magical transporting devices.
See,
although I guess that's nice in a way because it indicates that like he really doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's just like, well, here's what I think it would look like, you know.
I mean, I can only speculate how I would feel in that kind of situation, but I would find it more amusing than anything, I think, or I'd hope.
What you mean? You mean like for Brundle getting the picture, or for Davis having her career?
Oh, no, for the image on the magazine. Like if they got it that bad, like I would be like, yeah, that's kind of cute.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. He's trying to keep this ultra secret until he's ready to tell everyone. I don't know why he's not allowed or not allowing himself to just tell everyone right now and be like, hey, look, I can do this. I'm going to do more. But, also, wouldn't every, like, government in the entire world want a hand in this,
Actually, that's maybe a point, like, well...
Maybe there should have been, like, some secret agents trying to infiltrate or something.
Well, yeah, I do kind of wonder, not to get, like, too conspiratorial, but, I mean, maybe that would be the kind of thing that, like, if people found out, some government might, come in and, kill you or stop the project in some way.
No one has ever done that, Jacob, except for in Iran.
Well,
yeah, actually, a lot of nuclear scientists go missing there, so there is that.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, it might just be a self-preservation thing.
Yeah, I mean, true. But apparently, he still needs to go hit on women at science conventions. So.
Well,
What if it had been a Russian spy? What a different movie that would have been.
That's true, but I mean, like, there's security, but then there's also, wanting to get laid.
So she gets this.
We all take risks in life.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I guess you got to put yourself out there now and again.
Yeah.
Okay, so she gets this, this stupid promo thing, in the mail. I guess it was forwarded to the location. Maybe she told him where the address was. Stathis, I mean. But she doesn't actually tell Brundle, which to me, I find that interesting because, we've already pointed out Brundle's got some flaws, but she's got some interesting little, like, I don't want to say darkness, but, but she's calling her own shots, So she's like, I'm not going to tell him about this. I'm just going to say that I need to go deal with some stuff and I'm going to be back later, But this is essentially right after they just professed, in so many words that they kind of were falling in love with each other. She says she has to scrape the residue of her old life off of her shoe.
Yeah.
So that actually sounds great to me. I mean, if you're really listening to her, like this, like, well, I got to just work some stuff out. I mean, like, and I'm disgusted with what I have to go do, but it's, but it needs to be done. I gotta break it off, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you have to chalk it up to Brundle's inexperience or naivete that he still gets real drunk and jealous over the whole thing.
Yeah, although, like, come on. You don't drink and do experiments. That's just... I mean, like, I barely... Like, I don't trust myself to do anything when I'm drunk. Like, not, messing around with the teleporter? No way. I can barely, like... I can't even use Discord. I freak out.
Well, you do see in this scene, at least, with him and the baboon, that he actually feels bad that he summarily murdered the other one's brother. That's what he calls him. I don't know if they're literally brothers or not.
That'd be a little messed up.
And then in the same scene, he's drinking heavily, monologuing to a baboon. And there's just a fly just buzzing around, just bothering the baboon.
Mm-hmm.
Foreshadowing the horribleness that's about to happen. Although, oh yeah, I forgot. Actually, there was a little bit. I mean, they, first they show that scene where they talk to Stathis, and he sort of pathetically says, "I don't want you to disappear from my life," and you can tell that she feels a little bad, but not very. So, that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean,
it made me realize that he's essentially the Gaston of this story. He's a jerk. He's dumb. He's deluded. He's full of himself. But by the end, he's not an absolute monster. He's just kind of a sleazy creep in relationships.
what does he do to redeem himself?
Oh, well, I mean, he's kind of nice to her later, I guess. So I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, that's a pretty shit redemption arc.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe he was there to help just because like nobody else was there to do it. But I tend to think that he well, I don't know. Even if he knew he wasn't going to continue to be in a relationship with her ever again, he was still going to be nice to her.
Yeah.
Or at least I thought that until I heard about the alternate ending where they do get back together. And by the way, gross.
Yeah, no thanks.
That should not have ever been a thing.
Yeah, that's that's not great.
So, while they're having this conversation, Brundle, he gets plastered and he gets into the telepod and he times it out so he can seal himself in. I hope he timed it out correctly. I was thinking if he screwed it up and added like a 1 to it or whatever, he'd be like sitting in the telepod for like an hour before the door closed or that kind of a thing. Or he'd have to be like, crap, I got to get out and like fix it. And there's a fly in there. And it's interesting because they show it like on the lens while he's in there. But it's like a still image, and you see it for a second, and you can tell because there's like a pan shot to get to the fly, and they just couldn't control where a fly goes. So I'm pretty sure there's just a dead one stuck to the window for that one shot, and they have to just pan over to it.
Yeah, that was what I thought. Also, I'm curious how someone would feel about this scene if they just like had never seen the fly before and didn't have any real idea of what the fly was about.
Yeah.
Like how would they feel? Like, would they like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What, the movie's called The Fly. There's a fly here. What's going on? Like,
yeah.
I mean, because like I watched the movie knowing the premise, and and of course like I've rewatched it, so like I never got to have that experience, but you wonder.
Yeah, I wonder if it's almost like too horrifying to contemplate. It's also like really annoying that his programming was so simplistically programmed that like it didn't just know to omit stuff. Because I mean, I wrote this down right about this part where I'm just like, did Brundle factor in other organic life that might have gone in with him? Because like, what about like the microscopic life that like those things that travel up and down your eyelashes that clean them? I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of those. And like,
I try not to think about that.
Yeah, there are things crawling on your eyelashes, Jacob. They're there with you all the time.
What are you talking about, Peter? That's not true.
And there's also the bacteria in your stomach. Like, you can't even digest food properly if you didn't have those biomes in there, like little societies of different kinds of bacteria. So, I mean, like, I try to be generous to Brundle and just assume that he knew about all of that stuff and was just, like, canceling it out,
Yeah. But then again,
like,
that makes the mistake all the more careless.
In a way, yes. I mean, there's also the fact that like you could just have random viruses in the air. I mean, maybe it doesn't detect things of a certain smallness, but it would seem like he should have. Honestly, everything in this movie would have been fixed with a nice decontamination airlock.
Yep.
I mean, that's all there is to it. It's just like, well, if you had a cleaner environment, Brundle, you would have been fine. This is crap.
I mean, maybe...
And he gets it all on tape. I noticed that the recording equipment he used is Betamax tapes.
Huh.
Truly a technology that has stood the test of time.
Yes, absolutely.
I actually think I've heard that arguably the Betamax was a better format than regular VHS, but it just wasn't sold well.
Yeah. I don't know the technical details, but I think that is sort of the story is that Betamax was better, but VHS was, I guess, like cheaper to record on. So, given the popularity of certain types of videos, people went with VHS.
Yeah. So then Geena Davis comes home after he's come out, and he thinks he's okay. He talks to the baboon. He's like, "Oh, how am I? Am I good?" Which I guess is a good sign. But, I mean, when you're doing all this work by yourself in an ultra-secret project, you probably should do things on something, really anything other than yourself,
Yeah.
Because otherwise he just screws it up. Plus, he's a genius, and so, like, I would just be worried that your brain chemistry wouldn't work properly, like, if it didn't map properly.
Oh, yeah, that would be the thing that I would worry about the most, is like all the, like, you could look fine, but there are all sorts of tiny micro issues that could mess with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even, one blood vessel in the wrong area, place or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if it didn't happen, I would probably like wake up late at night thinking about that, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Be like, am I the same person?
Yeah, which, like, again, not to sound like a Luddite, but I don't think I would do like the Star Trek transporter thing. No thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, Geena Davis comes home late or early. I'm confused by this scene because he says that he started the party without her. He admits he went through the machine, and she's like, "Oh, hey, it's the same night." There's a clock behind them, so it actually says 10:35. I don't know if that means AM or PM. And if it's PM, then it just seems like Brundle is like the biggest wuss that he's already like gotten drunk, did his crazy thing, and is already passed out by 10:30.
I'll be honest, I kind of think it's 10:30 at night.
It makes him seem like such a lightweight.
I mean, he might be.
He's like, listen, I will get drunk, but I still have to get to bed early. I mean, I have standards.
I don't know, maybe he passed out. Just maybe he wanted to stay up, but he just got too drunk.
Yeah. So then afterwards, Davis, they sleep together again, and she finds weird hairs growing out of the wound in his back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that would be. Like he's just melted with the fly. So I guess you need like a visual indicator that something's a little wrong, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know that it would necessarily be like that an open wound would result in like more activity from like insect matter in your cells or whatever.
I mean, given how things go at the end, it does seem like he had a more fly-like interior.
I guess that's true. So I don't know. Maybe it was already starting its work, but it was just like poking out from the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is weird and gross. Just as all of this movie is weird and gross.
Yeah. Perfectly fitting.
There's a scene late at night where he wakes up and he hears a fly buzzing around, and he just catches it in the palm of his hand, like he's Mr. Miyagi from the original Karate Kid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. Hey.
And then the next morning, Davis wakes up and there's a tasteful topless scene where she puts on some clothes and awakes to find. Oh yeah, she finds Brundle doing crazy acrobatics just out in the warehouse.
So I was curious about this. I didn't look it up because I don't actually care that much. But are flies known for their athleticism?
I mean, I don't know how you would prove something like that, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, because like I get some of the stuff with like the crawling on surfaces and whatnot. I guess I just don't really think of super strength and agility when I think of flies.
Well, maybe the super strength, because I was thinking maybe like it's like exoskeletons, or like maybe that he's being built differently in a way that's sturdier in the end.
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
It's possible.
Yeah, and I mean, I also kind of wonder because he like in a really fantastic Jeff Goldblum rant goes on about this idea of being like purified by the teleporter.
Yeah,
and I wonder if that like both are true, that that his DNA was mixed with the fly, but also maybe it does actually like fundamentally change you in a way that's good.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I was thinking of that too, because like, they go out afterwards. He buys her a locket, which is sweet, I guess. And she wears it for the whole rest of the movie. So I guess that kind of like is a way of showing that she cares about him the whole way through.
Yeah.
And then he acts like he's on coke at a coffee shop where he's just pouring like endless sugar into his coffee. And he keeps yelling at the waiter.
Yeah.
I do love that you can see the waiter in the background and he looks like really startled by the yelling.
Well, I liked it because it's very fly-like behavior. It's very frantic.
Yeah, I guess so. But if you were to stop right at this point, in time, like if this is all that happened, that's still unacceptable. It's pretty damning,
Oh
Like,
yeah.
if telepods caused like this dramatic of a personality shift, it basically proves that they're unusable for humans.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is that like that personality shift is because the fly got in there.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't know what it's like for a normal, non-fly teleport.
Yeah.
Maybe it does make you a jerk.
Or maybe it does make you into a living god.
Maybe it cleans out the weaknesses in your soul.
Like, yeah, there you go.
They have like what must have been like a very long sexual session because she's exhausted and he keeps wanting to do it. And then he's like, I know what we should do. I should just have you go through the teleporter and then we can be together, exactly the same.
Okay, another thing I was thinking about. I'm sorry, but are flies also known for being like really good at sex? Or just
Okay,
like,
I actually did.
I'm just saying. I'm just wondering.
I looked this up and actually, sort of, yes.
Oh. Huh.
Okay, so I looked it up for a different reason, which I'll get into later. But
Say no
flies,
more.
when they mate, flies do everything fast because they live short lives. But their sexual sessions will last for like, I think it's between like 20 minutes or like a half hour and like an hour, which is like an eternity in fly time. So I actually think that they probably are like, they go to the distance when they're doing it,
All right. Well, show my ass.
So yeah, I rate this accurate in this
All
fly
right.
movie.
Yeah. Okay. Good on him.
Yeah, so she refuses to go into the teleporter because, she's sane.
Yes.
And he just flips out. I don't want to keep saying flips out, but he gets angry and calls her a drag and accuses her of not wanting to drink deep or taste not the plasma plane.
Oh god, that's so good.
It's such a weird, speech. He just yells at her and she just doesn't really acknowledge it because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's complete nonsense.
Well, he's doing that thing because I think even right there, like right off the bat, I think he realizes something's wrong, but he just can't acknowledge it because it's too horrible, it's too damning,
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely is some kind of like denial going on.
I think he's just trying to justify it to himself. He's just desperate for a reason to, for it to somehow be her fault that she doesn't want to go into the teleporter and that there's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
So he just immediately storms off to find a more amenable companion, and
Yeah, I guess.
and just finds a woman at a bar. Yeah. So two men are arm wrestling for her favor, and he bets $100 he can beat either of them.
So when my memory of this scene was that the guy in the flannel was played by Robert Z'Dar.
No, it's not Robert Z'Dar.
I know. I was very disappointed.
Oh.
Like watching the scene again. It's like, oh, it's not him.
Yeah.
Damn it! It's just a guy who looks like a low rent Robert Z'Dar.
He's a round fellow. I think in the movie they call him Marky or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And so begins a scene that has been haunting people for decades. Yeah, I believe the first time I saw The Fly, it was on TV, and I walked in during this scene, and I became so upset that I had to flee the room.
Oh, it's adorable.
I don't know. There's something about it that feels wrong, but in a good way. What I mean is, like, it suits the movie perfectly, but it doesn't suit the movie up until this point, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because
No, yeah, it's an intense scene. It's got like that kind of like weird sweaty atmosphere to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, before this moment, you get a sense that maybe things are going to be okay. That maybe this will just be like, it'll be a little bad, but things will go better. But as soon as the main character goes and just tries to get some barfly to come home with him and just breaks someone's arm and the bone juts out right in the view of the camera, and he's like, he's got weird goo coming out of his fingertips while he's wrestling. and the music is like all harsh and dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, you just get the sense you're like, oh no. Because like in your heart of hearts, I mean, even just as the audience, you're just like, oh, this isn't going to end well, is it?
No. Yeah. You can't really go back from that.
Yeah. So you get a sense that the film is just going to go dark, horrible places.
And boy does it.
And boy does it. So he takes that lady home. I don't know if they ever established what her name is.
It doesn't matter.
It matters to her.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't matter to us.
So he goes to the teleporter again, and I have a personal theory that by doing it twice, he actually further accelerates his his cellular degeneration.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if that's
yeah,
actually true, but it seems true, just because it would have to recombine everything again, you know?
Yeah, that was the theory I was working under.
Yeah. She also wonders aloud whether or not he's a magician. Once again, he's not irritated by it. He just says he is, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And and I just noted that if telepods ever became a thing, Brundle would have a heck of a time convincing anyone it was real. And we've already discussed that. But yeah, I just keep wondering if every time they try to sell it to a company, they're like, well, wait a minute, is this some kind of flim flam? You know.
I mean, the thing is, with a bit of confidence, you can sell, things that are outright BS. So, I mean, something that actually works.
Yeah.
It's probably easier to sell.
Just in the same way that with a bit of confidence, Seth Brundle was able to sell himself to a strange barfly lady. He just had to believe in himself.
Absolutely. Yes, it is exactly, one-to-one comparable situation. Yes.
Although she does insist that she's not a prostitute.
I believe her.
No, I don't think she is either. But I think it's funny that I don't know. There's that the lady doth protest too much kind of a thing about it. I've done sex for exchanges of goods and services before, but not now.
I mean, she does go along with him after all that.
Yeah. I guess they're not really doing her any favors in the film. So
yeah. Anyway.
So so she tries to rub his back in the morning, but his skin is already getting all inflamed and gross. And so now this lady refuses to go through the telepod as well, and Geena Davis returns to say the most memorable line of the entire film: "Be afraid, be very afraid."
It's funny for such an iconic line. That is, the context is kind of silly.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it is a reason to be afraid. It will permanently ruin you if you go through a teleporter.
Well, sure. I don't know. It's not like an especially scary or dramatic moment.
Yeah. Well, it made sense at the moment, I suppose.
No, yeah. I'm just saying. It's just kind of funny, given how iconic that line is.
Yeah. So yeah, Geena Davis looks so genuinely hurt by Brundle's indiscretion. And she came in because she said she had processed the creepy hairs that were off his back into a lab, and they said that they were not human, but insect-like.
Yeah, I don't know why she needed a lab to know they weren't human. They didn't look human.
Well, they were really coarse, but I mean, honestly, you would think it would at least still be part human if it was a full splicing of the genes. It would be some kind of a mix. But then again, I don't know what kind of a test they did. So, I don't know. They couldn't do DNA back in the 80s. So it was probably something more maybe a structural analysis or something.
Yeah, could be something like that. Or they just had a scrapbook of different animal hairs and they had to go through painstakingly comparing them all.
Yeah. So Brundle gets really defensive when she brings this up and talks about how bad he smells and how bad he looks. And so he tries to prove his healthiness by just demolishing a wooden beam with his bare fist. Awesome.
It was great, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wrote, how strong is Brundle by this point? Could he lift a car over his head?
Yeah, they don't really go into it.
He seems really, really strong.
Yes.
I mean, the way he broke that man's arm when they were arm wrestling, it seemed like he had a lot of extra energy because you have to kind of do a real sharp flicking motion to break it, It seemed almost like he got impatient and he's like, heck with this. I'm just gonna just hurry this up and break this guy's arm.
Yeah, that was kind of the feeling I got was, like that wasn't like him like putting all of his effort in. That was just kind of like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a shame. Like there were a few cutscenes, but I would have loved a cutscene where he picks up a car and just throws it at someone.
Peter, that would be incredibly silly.
I know it would be, and it would look really stupid too, especially like on an 80s special effects. But oh yeah, I guess I can't justify it. You're right, I can't.
I mean, like the thing is, it would have to like invariably be part of some like cliche scene where like the monster gets revealed to the public or whatever.
There is a scene, at least I think I heard about, that was removed, where at one point he kills a bag lady and devours her with the spit drop, which we haven't really gotten to yet because that's later in the movie. Which sounds really horrible, and I'm glad they took that out. But I mean, I guess they could have had a thing where like if you're gonna take someone, you could have like you could just show him like grabbing someone like by the back of their coat and just lifting them up into the air, that kind of a thing.
Just on the record, this movie doesn't have enough of Brundle fly using his acid vomit on people.
There's a fair amount, but yeah. So you want more?
I would have maybe liked to have had the scene included.
Okay. Well, it was explained that some of these scenes were taken out because they make you less sympathetic to Brundle. So there is that.
From a like making a good movie standpoint, sure, but from like a seeing the fly do really cool gross shit sense. That's all I'm saying.
So Brundle tosses her out and just locks himself in, says, "Don't come back." And I think by this point, he already knows he's essentially killed himself by going through the telepod. But he'll have to like degenerate further before he'll admit it to himself or to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's just sort of like feeling sorry for himself. And now, I've written this out because this is wonderful. And now, ladies and gentlemen, begins a series of horrible body horror scenes. This film in particular is the premiere body horror film. He peels off some fingernails. Yeah. He sprays some kind of gross goo from his fingertips.
I really think like maybe the Thing is like a competitor, but like it's up there.
Often people will show like if you talk about body horror, they often show that clip from Videodrome where James Woods shoots a man with a cancer gun, and it makes him die from the inside out.
That is pretty cool, and
it looks really cool. But often, like when people talk about body horror, I think most people actually think about The Fly. I mean, I don't know about that anymore, but at least from people from like my generation and earlier.
Well, I think they think about that kind of body horror at least, like not so much like gross fleshy shit, but like your body being altered in some way against your will.
Yeah,
I think that in most people's mind is like what makes body horror rather than just what if I had a gun but the gun shot teeth.
Yeah. Okay, so he has to wear gloves to access his 1980s console and ask it what happened, and it says that there was a primary source and a secondary source, and the audience already knows this, but this is the point when he figures it out.
Yeah.
And I love the zoom out, because he has like all these like stock images of like the different genetic material that's been reprocessed, which actually seems like how a real computer would do something.
Yeah.
Up until a point, because it shows an image like a cellular structure of an organic thing, and it keeps zooming out and it shows a fly, and you're like, that's great, but then it turns into like a portrait, which
that's true.
A computer would not do the portrait.
Yeah, how would you even know?
But but other than that, it's pretty great. It's just like, here's what you did, you big dumb idiot.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this would be in there, and you didn't program me to think about it.
Also, obviously movie things have to be structured certain ways. I feel like I would have immediately checked the diagnostic after going through the teleporter.
Well, he was drunk, so.
That's true.
Yeah, had to sleep it off. Okay, so then there aren't a lot of time jumps in this movie, but then the only really big one happens, and like suddenly a month passes,
Hmm.
and Davis returns because I think he calls her, and she comes in, and he's just looking like a zombie with like he's walking on crutches, and he seems to be
Oh yeah,
attempting a sort of insect-like walk when he's moving around.
oh yeah. He looks like shit.
Yeah, he's got pointy little teeth. I'm not sure why. I think the idea is that the whatever you call it, the vomit drop that comes out of his mouth sometimes is wearing out his teeth.
Oh, huh. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but that
I'm not sure if that's it, but that might be it.
it's a good explanation for why he has the weird Ferengi teeth.
Yeah, Brundle explains like what happened to him. He thinks he might be contagious. We find out later that's not true, but it's a fair point to make that it might somehow
Yeah.
spread to other people.
I mean, yeah, you have no clue how it works.
So it does prove though that the telepod is really excellent at gene splicing. So like again, teleporting inorganic matter, why not just do that? Because agricultural scientists will try to breed disease-resistant strains of stuff. Like, why even breed them when you could just combine them with some kind of confabulous machine to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I think Brundle's big mistake was not splicing himself with enough animals. He should have just kept going until things were fine.
Until he felt better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would have done, but that's just me.
All I'm saying is he should have sold this thing to Monsanto.
Yeah, big bucks.
I mean, yeah, then they'd just be like splicing corn products together until they got like, the best corn.
Yeah, or corn and not corn.
Yeah.
To create weird hybrid products.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a scientist, I would
Tobacco.
try to keep things really close, and then splice them.
And
But-
tobacco could be real.
But I guess you could, splice any two weird things together, like say a baboon and a cat.
Yeah.
Whatever, just go nuts.
I mean, if it worked, like that would have been pretty great.
So as you were mentioning before about the vomit drop, this is the first time in the film when he vomits. He reaches for some donuts and he just vomits on them by accident, and he's like, "That's disgusting."
I don't even think it was an accident. I think he did it, but it was just so like second nature by then that he didn't realize how gross that would look to a normal person.
I was thinking that was the first time that it ever happened to him.
Oh, huh.
I don't know if that's true, but it could be.
I like my version better.
Also, he's like itching his face, and then his ear just randomly falls off.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So-
great. Cause like he's so horrified.
Well, I mean, as you would be, and it
Oh,
really
yeah.
does help cement for Geena Davis just how screwed he is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
I
she
mean-
immediately goes off to Stathis, who honestly gives the best advice of the entire movie when he says to just stay away from Brundle.
Yeah.
But he isn't averse to a story, so he asks her to tape him using that high-quality Betamax tapes.
It's like he give the one point in the movie where he like gives some good advice and then he like has to follow it up with yeah, but if you want, like you stick around the monster.
I mean, it would be a great story,
Yeah.
He made some kind of like, beastie out of himself.
Also, still can't stop saying creepy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So she goes back to find him skittering around on the ceiling, and a really awesome shot, honestly.
Mhm.
It seems like he's hit some kind of temporary stability in his genetic equilibrium. Or maybe he's just learning to embrace his doomed nature.
That is kind of an interesting part of his transformation, is that it's not like a decline, like there are periods where he seems like he's stabilizing or improving in some way.
Yeah, it makes it more realistic in a way, because it makes me think of like evolutionary hills and valleys, because there are points where like a creature is really well developed for an area, and then like they'll start to change to to go from one like situation to another one, and that's when you get like those weird like birds that have like tiny little wings that don't do anything, but they just walk around on the land, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have like useless parts. So I wonder if he gets to these like little points in his degeneration or reordering or whatever it is, where like it becomes temporarily okay.
You don't see that in movies like this a lot. It's usually like straight to, it's a constant decline.
Yeah. Also, I just really love the special effects for this room because it's on a gimbal, so the whole thing rotates.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, that's how you see him. Like he's up on the ceiling, and then he goes down the wall, and then he comes down near the kitchen floor, and you see all this garbage on like the countertops, but it's not moving because it's been glued down or nailed down.
Yeah, I was a little curious how they did that.
At least I'm pretty sure that's how it happens. This is right around the time of the first Nightmare on Elm Street where they did the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they also reused that set for Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Amazing.
Yeah. I heard that there's a Freddy Krueger glove up on the wall in the scene of Breaking 2, but I've never seen the movie, so I don't know. Well, it's like a little ode for like letting them use the room.
Maybe next episode.
It's horrifying, right?
Yeah, different kind of horror.
So he tries to explain to her that he's becoming something that's never existed before. A Brundle fly.
A great part about when he's walking around on the wall is when he points to like something on his side. There's, some kind of, he's like, look at this. What's this? I don't know.
Yeah, I love that part. I have a theory about what it is. I'm almost hesitant to tell you because it's horrible, but like it might be real.
Go on ahead.
Okay, so remember how I said I was looking up the mating practices of flies earlier? That was why. Well, for other reasons as well. But somewhere in the abdomen of a fly, a male fly, they don't have penises. They have they call it a genital opening. And it's a receptacle for sperm. So they mount the top of a female, but the female jams her ovipositor into his stomach, essentially, and gets the sperm and then stores it so they can fertilize the eggs later.
Oh. That is horrifying.
Yeah, so I don't know. It might be his sperm hole, I guess. Maybe.
Okay, Peter, please don't say sperm hole ever again.
I can make no promises. Okay. And then, as if things cannot get any more harrowing, like right in the middle of everything, Davis just finds out she's pregnant.
Yeah. Which starts kind of a pretty awkward subplot in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it ties them together more strongly as characters when, like, otherwise you might have a really strong reason to never speak to someone again, I suppose. Even if you love them.
That's true, but I mean, like, not to, like, get too far ahead, but, like, I don't know, it feels weird to have Brundle, it's like, it's understandable, but, like, basically emotionally blackmailing her into keeping what could potentially be his horrible monster child.
Yeah. About that, so the very next scene after she finds out, she has a dream. Well, you don't know that right away, but she's in a hospital, and she says, "How can I be losing it?" And then they go to a scene, and as a child, I thought that she was giving birth, but she's not. I don't think. I think she's miscarrying or aborting, which is even grimmer.
Yeah, I was curious.
And
I'm not sure either.
For whatever reason, a maggot emerges, and it's one of the most horrible things in the whole movie.
Maggot baby.
Maggot baby. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I had to turn the volume down and look away for that scene. It still really upsets me.
I'm not gonna say it's not gross, but I watched.
So apparently, a version of that scene was the original ending of the movie.
Oh man!
Think about that.
Oh, God, that might be like, I understand how they ended it, why they ended it the way they did, but like, that would be so good.
Oh my god, it would have ruined the movie.
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, that's so horrifying.
That's like the Carrie hand, or like Jason popping out of the lake at the end of Friday the 13th.
I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, but like but that's such a like, that's so dark.
Yeah. Well, it was either that or I mean there was also the ending where she gives birth to like a cocoon kind of a thing, and then they slough it off and there's a regular baby underneath, and you're like, it's a fake out, it's a regular baby.
Yeah.
So I think that might have actually been the full ending. Maybe they wanted it to be less dark or something, but that's still pretty damn dark.
It is. I don't know. I mean, like, the ending of the movie is fine as is. I'm just like, I like shock endings like that.
For most movies, I would agree with you, especially horror films. Although when it gets to a certain category of excellence, I would prefer they not.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, the movie's too good for it.
Yeah, you're better than this movie.
It is.
Okay, so he's been going through like transitions this whole time. I mean, they've actually been fairly subtle. At first, Brundle just kind of has like a bad face. He looks kind of greasy and gross,
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts getting like, I think I described him earlier as kind of having a zombie-like complexion.
Yeah.
Which then gets like a little worse in the later scenes when he's climbing on the ceiling. And then now he gets to the point where he looks really awful. He's all puffy and bulging weirdly, and his eyes seem offset from one another.
Yeah, not great.
Although I wrote it down, I actually think his skin looks pleasantly pink. Like I could be wrong, but I think an advanced stage Brundlefly would be really warm and pleasant to the touch.
I hadn't considered that before.
I don't know if that's true. I just get that feeling when I look at it. I'd be like, "Ooh, you're so warm, Brundlefly."
I mean, I could see warm, but there are all the hairs.
Well,
all
that's
the
true. The
horrible-
hairs are probably like little pieces of like sharp plastic almost, like they're real like coarse.
Yeah, and then there are all the micro hairs too.
Yeah.
Like there's the hair you don't see.
So he finally gets to the point where he's trying to give orders to his console with his voice, and it doesn't work because his body's changed too drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And in a bit of thoughtfulness, he puts I forget, it's either a pen or a pencil into his mouth, and then he pulls it out, and all of his teeth come with it.
I think also like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, I've had nightmares like that.
Yeah, I think most people do, or at least like it's common enough to be like a thing.
I've had a weird thing where, well, my teeth aren't straight. They've been kind of crowded my whole life. And so for a long time, I was self-conscious about it. And I used to have weird dreams where I would like cough up my old teeth, and then there would be like straight teeth underneath, like I was shedding it like a layer of skin or something.
Oh, huh. That's kind of interesting. Like, because like I guess when it happened with me, it would usually be like it would be the teeth like falling out, and then I'd just be kind of like screwed.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, it's more practical. It makes, more like day-to-day sense than what I was talking about.
Yeah, if anything, my dreams are sensical.
Jacob, sensible dreamer. we can put that in the podcast description.
There you go.
All right, so yeah, he pulls out his teeth. He saves them in a horrible little petri dish, and then he goes to, what's he call it later? His Museum of Natural History.
Yeah, I think that is.
I like to call it his medicine cabinet of relics. It's a horrible, just shelves of body parts. I'm not sure what it all is. I mean, I assume the thing on the left when he first opens it is his penis.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had that impression or not.
No, but I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, I don't want to get too graphic here, but it's just from the length of it. I mean, it might have been a long finger, I suppose, but yeah.
Well, and you were also enlightening me earlier about
About the fly. That's why I looked it up. See? It's all coming together.
thank you for your due diligence.
Because originally I was thinking like, well, if your member falls off, it might almost be like a relief in a way because like the pressure's off. You're like, well, that part of my life is gone forever.
Gotta say, man, if my penis fell off, I would not be feeling relief.
Well, no, I mean not immediately. I just mean more like in the long run. I mean like they used to have those eunuch courts in China where they're just trying not to distract people. I don't know if that really worked, but the intention was that they were trying to focus people on other things. It's like why they spay dogs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but didn't they like all become like evil, conniving bastards as a result?
Well, I wouldn't say all of them, but I mean there
but
was
like
multiple eunuch rebellions. That's true.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like you take that away from some people, and yeah, like what do they have left?
Yeah, but anyway, so that was my first thought, which admittedly is a little bizarre. So I was like, okay, well I'm gonna go look it up, and then I was like, well, what's it like for a fly? And like I said, they have a whole other thing going on. So I don't think his mission's over. I mean, in a way, it's just taken a dark turn.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
He's just got a whole new set of priorities,
Yeah.
So yeah, that medicine cabinet is so fascinating to me. I mean, I think so. There's an ear in there, probably his business, and then also it looks like a couple extra fingers and toes. I just realized the last half of the movie is just a series of like Geena Davis going to visit him. They're just like, all right, checking up again.
Yeah.
So she goes back again. This is one last time, and she seems to be there to tell him like, I have your child, but I will not be keeping said child. But she just can't seem to bear to tell him.
It's an awkward situation,
to say the least. And but she just says, I want to see you again before, and she just like leaves it hanging in the air. And I think he thinks like, oh, before I die, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so he takes it well. But then he has that bizarre monologue about being like an insect diplomat.
Oh, I kind of liked that speech.
Yeah, because you can kind of tell that like he's acknowledging that the insect part of his brain is kind of, it's either changing him or it's like slowly taking over.
Yeah.
Or at least it's creating a new balance. I don't know what it is for sure, but something like that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that's like the last real like moment where he's him.
Yeah, because he says like I want you to go because I might hurt you if you stay.
Yeah.
Which is genuinely like a real just like devastating thing to hear.
I know. Like that whole scene's great.
Yeah.
It does feel like after that moment he's gone. He's not him anymore.
Or at least not enough of him.
Yeah.
And so she goes outside, and apparently Stathis politely drove her there for this maybe one of the worst moments in her life.
Yeah, probably.
And he's like, okay, well, I mean, I'm here if you need something. And she's like, I need this kid aborted right now. And he's like, what, you mean like tomorrow? And she's like, no, right now. He's like, it's getting dark out. He's like, no, seriously. And I'm shocked that he's actually able to arrange something like immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of connections must he have? Or does he have like a really good doctor, where he's just like, you need to come right now. Like, I can't really specify why. And just get to your office and I'll meet you there.
Yeah, not to be too dark, but I mean, like, maybe this isn't a first time situation for him.
Yeah, I can't remember very many 80s films dealing with such a difficult subject, and I certainly wasn't expecting it right in the middle of a crazy sci-fi film,
Yeah. I mean, like, it doesn't always stick the landing, but it handles it about as well as you could in a movie like this.
I suppose so. And then but they're all very reasonable. Even the doctor, he's just like, well, listen, I mean, you seem like you're in a state. I mean, perhaps you should think about this. And she's like, oh no, there's no way. Like, even if you perform a test, there's no way to prove that this thing's not horrible. Which honestly, to a doctor, that would sound so bad.
Yeah.
Just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I was thinking about that through the scene of like, he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Stathis does, politely make up that story about, well, it's not exactly a story. It's like a half truth. It's like, well, the father's deformed, and she fears it might be deformed. I mean, probably.
Yeah.
She might have gotten pregnant before he went through the teleporter, but honestly, like the way he was, the marathon they had afterwards, like seems like it increases the likelihood.
I think that was almost certainly when the child was conceived.
Not that it matters terribly, except I suppose that it, like it helps prove that it's, it really is a legitimate fear that she has.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. If you even had the remotest possibility of having a horrible insect baby, I hate this conversation.
Keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, they're in the office. She's about to have the procedure. He flies through the window like a superhero, a deformed superhero, and
the best kind of superhero.
And he kidnaps her, or brings her back to his warehouse at any rate.
Yeah.
And he has a super sad conversation with her where he's just like, this might be the last piece of the real me left. Please don't kill me.
Well, that's what I'm saying about like the emotional blackmail. I mean,
yeah,
it's like,
it really is. It's manipulative.
It's perfectly understandable, and you obviously sympathize with him, but like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what he is just like, saying like, put aside your feelings and like think about me.
So apparently this is also a part of the movie where like things would pick up more if they had left in a few scenes. So this is more or less when they have the scene where I guess Cronenberg wanted to prove what would happen if you combined two things from two telepods into a third one. So just randomly he has a baboon and, God damn it, there's a stupid dog outside my door. 1 second.
So, how are you guys doing? You having a good day? Hope so.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, okay, all right. Never mind.
My nephew has a dog that I don't have to take care of, but I do have to do things for anyway. So it'll just stay outside of his door and whine.
What kind of dog are we talking?
It's like a mix between a golden retriever and a Australian shepherd or something.
Oh, huh. That sounds cute.
Yeah, she's a nice dog, I suppose. Although she used to live in a car for a number of years, so she's very like neurotic and weird and kind of uncomfortable in her own body.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those.
That's a shame.
Okay, so where were we?
Right.
Oh yeah, right. So he tries to manipulate her into keeping the baby, which is a gross thing to do, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we also moved on to we were talking about the
Oh, right. Yeah, so he tries to combine a cat. I don't know where he gets the cat from. Do they set it up in some another deleted scene? I guess it doesn't matter.
Look at where he lives.
There's alleys everywhere. There's got to be a cat in one of them.
I'm just saying.
So he gets this cat, combines it with his baboon, and makes a baboon cat. Although it's famously known as the MonkeyCat scene, I prefer baboon cat myself.
It's more accurate.
It attacks him. It's got a head on either end of it, so it looks like Cat Dog from Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah, and it's just, for whatever reason, it's like insane with fury for having been put through this process. And honestly, I'm really glad they removed this scene because really the only point of it is that like showing that things can be combined, and then he just beats it to death with a pole, like a pipe or something.
Yeah. You know what this reminded me a bit of? That scene from Reanimator with the cat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they wake up a cat in that, and then it just attacks people for like 5 minutes. And they just attack furniture where they think it is.
It's such a good scene. I mean, I hate violence against animals, but that is a very funny scene.
I was thinking of a stupid scene from some version of Frankenstein where the imagination of a person can just generate stuff out of like a weird gas that the guy had. Like Victor von Frankenstein invented the gas, not the body part. So he just dreamt up Frankenstein, and he just came out of like a vat of, it's either gas or goo. I don't remember which one it is. But like earlier, they just invent like some nonsense creature, and then I think they kill it.
What the hell movie is this?
It's a version of Frankenstein. I unfortunately I don't remember which one it is.
Peter, I gotta be honest. I feel like you have made this up because
I may very well have. It sounds unbelievable.
No, yeah, it actually sounds unbelievable. I do not believe it.
That's the thing that ruins the movie for me. I mean, in other ways, it wasn't a bad Frankenstein film, but just the way that they invented the process was just so ridiculous.
Wait, is it that
Frankenstein Unbound? I don't know if that was.
No, I'm not going to see that one, even if that is the one. It's the guy who wrote was it like American Ultra or whatever?
Oh, John Landis?
Yeah. Is that
the one with Harry Potter in it?
Yeah, is that the one?
No, that's not it.
Oh.
That's another weird one. Almost all the Frankenstein movies are weird and bad. I think I can just lay that out there.
Okay, I'm gonna write a note to remind myself to Google Frankenstein imagination gas and
it
see
may
what
have been
that comes up with.
But yeah, it was something like that.
Okay.
So they were going to set up that you could combine animals. You don't need to do that because the telepod, they have it written on the screen. They're like, there's going to be telepod 1, and then there's going to be telepod 2, and it's going to go to telepod 3 and put it all together.
Yeah.
And then later on, he describes it again to, Geena Davis. So, I mean, it's pretty well established. You don't really need the scene where you actually do it.
Well, also, like, what purpose does it serve for the narrative?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, also, I don't know why it would help anything, because it doesn't prove what he's trying to do. It just proves you can mix crap together that shouldn't be going together.
Yeah, in fact, like that seems like something the machine shouldn't be able to do. Like don't have a third telepod.
Yeah, and also, why did they have heads in different places? Shouldn't it have all been designed, and put together like, it would look like a weird anime mascot character, where it's like a fox dog or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, not to put like logic in it, but I guess it should have come out looking like either a normal like baboon or a normal cat, and then transformed terribly.
Yeah. I was thinking
whatever.
When I'd heard about the scene before I saw it, because it is available on YouTube if anyone hasn't seen it yet, I thought it was gonna just be like a rabid creature, and and it would look like weird but not too weird,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, it's just all wrong. Like, I feel like that's the other thing. Conceptually, I think they screwed it up. I'm glad they took that scene out, to be honest.
No, yeah, it looks all wrong.
Yeah, and then afterwards, in that same deleted scene, Brundle fly falls off of a building, and then he has an arm, like a fly arm, come out of his side, and then he bites it off. I'm not sure why any of that would have been there.
Yeah.
I feel like it was trying to maybe set up that as well, like, oh, something weird's going to happen inside of him, that kind of a thing. But you don't want that. It's better as a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So,
the movie's better off not having that in it.
Absolutely. So he pleads with her to keep the baby. She says no. And, as she should. And then he prepares the third telepod so he can combine himself, herself, and the baby into one mostly okay combined person.
Makes sense.
Who would that person be? Is it Davis, Brundle, Babyfly?
I think that's a perfect name for it.
Well, that's not her character's name, unfortunately. I've already forgotten her character name. They say very little in the actual film. I know her nickname is Ronnie, so I guess we could call her that, but I'm going to keep calling her Geena Davis.
Yeah.
The plan is selfish and despicable, but it might have worked to mostly weed out the fly DNA. I mean, I think it's not a terrible plan.
No, he just needed to find someone who wouldn't be missed.
Someone he didn't care about.
Well, like that homeless lady.
That he apparently killed in some other scene I didn't find.
Yeah. Honestly, bit of a blunder on his part.
You know what they should have done in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? They should have had, like, a
Jesus
Brundlefly
Christ.
base. Yeah, exactly. But like he could have been like a far advanced Brundlefly where like he's combined with like 20 or 30 people, so he's got the consciousness of all these different people in his brain.
That's like actually kind of a cool concept. It's a shame you're wasting it on a theoretical League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie.
Yeah, or the one we got with Sean Connery, but just also has a weird fly man in it. No, I guess it doesn't work for the time period. It would have to be a modern day one,
Yeah,
Dark Universe or something.
they're in the comics. They go to like up to like the 80s.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah. They kind of go like I read a bit of them. They go off the rails, but like it's interesting. They're interesting.
If it had worked, it might have been it. If you know, I feel like after it's combined a bunch of people, it's an it. If it had worked, it might have been put to death, even though it comprised elements of Brundle, Davis, and the fetus.
I mean, for what crime?
For murdering Davis. I might even have it on tape. Depends on whether or not he documents his work. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, like, like ethically in a court, like, can you really say that's murder?
I don't know. Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Yes, that is the question this movie is asking.
The big question. Now, I was thinking like that's another terrible Twilight Zone type ending you could have had to this, where he actually succeeds, but then he's put to death for killing her, but she's actually in his body.
Yeah, but I mean, also, like, how would they even think to, like, arrest him for that?
I don't know. He's very strong.
Well, no, I just mean, like, the only evidence is, like, the word of one guy and then a tape that he can destroy.
I guess she is just missing. I mean, it seems like they're so utterly destroyed when they're teleported that like there would be no trace.
Yeah. I just don't think like I just don't think they would even think to investigate it like that.
So
Yeah.
now I'm going to bring up some Star Trek. I saw an episode, which you may know, of Star Trek Voyager, where the characters of Neelix and Tuvok were accidentally combined via a beaming accident into one character.
Peter, I am very well aware of the existence of Tuvix.
Yeah, creating Tuvix. Yes. To be honest, I like the Tuvix character better than either Neelix or Tuvok in that show.
Oh yeah, and also Janeway is a monster for killing him.
Well, she splits the baby because she's like, well, listen, I'm going to be creating two lives for destroying this one life.
It didn't want to die.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, that's the question, though. So, if Brundle had succeeded and was combined with her, Geena Davis, what if they wanted to stay? You know, like even if they could be separated, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's better it didn't happen.
I mean, yes, absolutely it is. I mean, there'll be arguably a worse ending for this film than The Maggot Birth.
A much worse ending. There is a movie called Severed Ties that has a weird ambiguous ending like that, where they switch consciousness in some sort of a machine, and it seems like the evil woman has put her consciousness into the body of a young lady who the main character loves, and so then they save the girl, but it's unclear if he saved the girl before the transfer happened or not. So there's this weird darkness over the ending of the whole movie.
Yeah, see, I mean, like, I'm not saying that couldn't work in a movie because that does sound cool, but that's not The Fly.
I enjoyed parts of that movie, as I do with all horror films, but that was not. I guess I wouldn't call that a good movie. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Stathis goes in with a shotgun, and he gets his ankle and hand melted off by fly vomit for the trouble.
Okay, I will say this. That is another red flag on his part. That he just had a shotgun.
Just had it?
Well, I'm not saying that you can't or shouldn't own firearms or anything like that. I'm just saying the fact that he just kind of seems to own one for whatever reason. It just seems a little weird.
Yeah.
I got a bad vibe off of it.
So he has the opportunity to shoot Brundlefly But he's just so shocked by how horrible he looks that he like hesitates and gets his fist melted. And I remember when I saw the scene, I actually wrote down that fist is melting the same way the Nazi faces did in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep.
You know what? It turns out it was literally done by the same guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a guy named Chris Wallace. He built the heads for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Huh.
So that's why they melt the same way. It's like literally the same process.
That's really cool, actually.
That guy went on to win an Academy Award for this movie.
Oh, well, good for him. He should.
And then he went on to direct The Fly 2.
That makes a lot of sense, considering some of the things that happened in that movie.
Yeah. So all of that happened. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I really love the way, especially the Stathis' foot falls apart when it gets vomited on. It looks great.
Yeah. There's some classic old school practical effects score.
So Brundlefly tries to lead Davis into a telepod, and she rips off his jaw in the struggle.
Yes. Incredibly horrifying reveal.
It's great. And like I said, there was that scene where the little arm was going to poke out in some previous scene, but that would have been horrible because like this reveal is so good.
Yeah, I mean, like you don't even think that's what's going on.
Yeah, that essentially his lumpy outer shell is just something that's going to get sloughed off like a snakeskin.
Yeah.
So his newest, most insect-like body starts to peel off the last remnants of outer human skin. And it's pretty gross when his face splits apart and his eyeballs fall out.
It's so good.
It looks amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
So he tosses her into one of the telepods. Stathis wakes up just as Brundlefly is placing himself in the other telepod, and he uses the shotgun to disconnect Davis's pod from the network.
I will say that is as useful as those teleporters would be. That is maybe a potential fatal flaw in their use.
I was just thinking it was good thinking on Stathis' part.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying that, like, if any kind of power disruption messes up whatever you're teleporting, that's...
Oh, God. What if, like, you're teleporting and, like, the other side has a power outage?
Well, that's the thing. Like, even if you're just, like, teleporting, like, inorganic stuff, like, that just, like, ruins the cargo.
Yeah. God, I don't even like to think about that.
Yeah, they like. I will say, the more I watched the movie, the more I thought, like, you know what, maybe this teleportation stuff isn't really worth it.
Yeah. So Brundlefly, I feel like he's more insect than man at this point because he just tries to punch his way out of the pod when he realizes things are up.
Oh yeah, but by this point he's completely gone. I
guess. Because, like, if he had just waited, all he would have done was just get teleported to another pod, and he could have just walked out.
Yeah, I feel like that was just like animal fear at that point.
Because it seems like the console would have just been like, so you just teleported from one to the other, and there was nothing else, so that's it, you know?
Yeah.
But he breaks it, and it expands the field. And I love that the telepod knows that it's teleporting part of the telepod. You know, it like has it listed as a possibility.
Yeah.
Like, it probably should have just been like some gobbledygook on the screen when it happened because it didn't know, you know, for sure.
Yeah, why would it even have that as a possibility?
Yeah, it's like, just in case I ever teleport the telepod by accident.
Yeah.
So yeah, it rips off like a part of the door and some of the entrance, you know, while it takes him away. And plays some really dramatic music as it goes to the prototype telepod that has like a black door so you can't see what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I love that score. It's dun, 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 dun. And the door opens, you know, there's the dramatic mist, and he just makes the most pathetic wail when he comes out. So I have a question for you about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it funny or is it sad?
What do you mean? It's sad. It's fucked up. Yeah, I messed up.
For me, I don't know, something about his pathetic scream and the way he just rolls out. He's just like, he just seems like, I don't know, so pathetic. And something about it is really funny to me.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a better person than you.
It's possible. But I think it's just that, he's just like, I really wasn't expecting this.
Okay, that was not my read on his reaction. What a wacky predicament.
We're just like, oh god, I didn't think I'd be melded with metal and stuff.
I really don't think that was his thought process.
You don't really know.
Jesus.
I mean, I'm not sure how much is left of Brundle's brain at this point, but he's got to be thinking like, wow, this really sucks.
Well, by the end of the movie, not much at all.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, Stathis gets Davis out of the pod. The computer, says that it, I don't know, that it just wasn't. Why is the telepod like coded to do this at all? Like, why doesn't it just automatically shut down when any of the variables change?
Yeah.
So one of the telepods goes down, it should just be like, well, all right, we'll stop and we'll start again when you got it plugged back in.
It's like it's designed to fuck up. God, I did it again!
Yeah. Well, listen, it's just that it's a prototype, I think. I guess it's just because, like, this is the early stages, Brundlefly, I guess. He coded it just to work enough,
Yeah. Which is why he needed more funding, which is why he should have made it public.
So the console successfully combined Brundlefly and Telepod. We now have Brundlefly. And before, the pitiful scream makes me laugh. He crawls over to Geena Davis, who's gotten the shotgun off the floor, and it knows enough to just sadly put the nozzle of the gun up to his own head.
Yeah, can't blame him.
I mean, she doesn't want to do it, but what choice does she have exactly?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe she could have kept him, Brundlefly pod in like a terrarium at her home or something.
Mm-hmm.
But no, probably not. I'm thinking that he
No.
probably didn't have long to live anyway, considering that half of his genetic makeup was inorganic matter.
He was trailing a lot of himself behind him.
So yes, of course she shoots him, and Brundlefly pod's head explodes like it was full of hot dog meat.
Probably was.
Which it was, yeah. And then boom, right to credits. Cronenberg,
Yeah,
don't play around.
Nope. I love it. Don't even give you time to reflect on it. Just like
Yeah. No, I love it too. And I believe the composer was Howard Shore. I just want to praise his music now because it was great the whole way through. It adds a lot of gravitas to the film.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And yeah, also this is, I guess, the point when I can bring up we already talked a little bit about the alternate endings where she gives birth to a maggot, or maybe to a pupa that becomes like a real baby. But then there was also a third ending, apparently, where she gives birth to a pupa and then leaves it in a forest. And then she has a dream that the pupa becomes a butterfly, like a baby with butterfly wings. And then that baby with wings flies up into a star. So I guess it was going to heaven?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the implication.
I can only assume that ending was to try to soften the blow, I guess, about losing the baby. Well, I don't know.
I mean, either way, I hate it.
Yeah, no, it sounds terrible.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Stinker.
So, yeah. Final thoughts, I suppose. This movie is a big, horrible masterpiece. I absolutely love it.
It's one of the greats.
Not just for the creature effects, but because the film goes to great pains to get you to understand the characters before the horror begins.
Yeah. I think that's what all of the truly great horror movies do.
It's also a great movie about somebody dealing with an addiction or a disease.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I get that vibe. I don't know if that's exactly what they were going for, but it really does fit that quite well with the sort of denial that Goldblum's character was going through.
No, yeah, it is interesting to watch it with that kind of angle in mind.
I also like to sometimes think about what the first time a horror movie survivor tries to go on a date after the events of the film would be like. I was just thinking, like, Geena Davis is sitting at a table on some blind date, and the guy is like, "So, how come you're single?" And she's just like, "Well, it's kind of a long story."
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a while.
Maybe never again. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Although in that dreadful alternate ending with the baby butterfly, she's dreaming in a bed that is occupied by Stathis. So it's wrong in that way too. It's gross.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Well, I wouldn't mind thinking that, like, I don't think they would have rekindled their relationship, but I don't mind the idea that they just become good friends because they shared a harrowing experience.
I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so I've thought about the rating system like that we did in our very first inaugural episode.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot we did a rating system.
Well, it didn't really work. That's the thing.
Yeah, I also forgot what we did. So there you go.
Well, we had two different 1 to 10 ratings. One is for like how good it is, and one is for how bad it is. But
Right,
we were at some confusion about what that meant. So I'm just thinking we should just do like a simple. Each of us do like a 1 to 10 system, where like a rating where you just talk about how good it was for what it was trying to do.
All right.
Okay. So for the rating system, like I said, I think it's 1 to 10 for, I don't know how, like we could either have it be 1 to 10 for personal enjoyment or 1 to 10 for how good of a movie you think it was, like in accomplishing its tasks that it set out to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that. I mean, I know it's a weirdly like specific answer, but for horror, it's hard to say like a lot of horror movies are quote unquote good, like objectively good, but you could say that they accomplished certain goals, that they were heading for. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, like that makes sense.
Granted, like if it's a good movie, if it's an objectively good movie, it'll be really high on this rating anyway, so it should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I'll try it first because this was my idea. So let's see. 1 to 10 scale. How well did it accomplish everything it set out to do? I give this, it's going to be really pretty high, but it's our first time doing it this way, so I'm not sure if I want to go super high. Maybe I'll go with 8.5.
All right. Really hate the 0.5.
Okay, fine. You want me to commit?
Yeah.
All right. 8 out of 10.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know how the movie could improve upon itself as far as what it tried to do. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the definition of a 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah, I just don't see how the movie could be better at doing what it was trying to do.
It was very efficient. It set up its characters great. It had a lot of gross out scenes. It hit all its marks. It was very entertaining.
There's no real like big point where it's like, well, that was kind of like they blew that. No,
yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose you're right, but I'm still sticking with 8 out of 10.
No, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just giving my rationale.
Well, I'm one of those people where, like, I would always give like 4 out of 5 stars, and like it's only like when it's like something kind of like transcendent where I give it like the ultimate rating.
Sure, so, that makes sense.
I guess I'm just strict and unforgiving. Okay.
Yeah.
And I do have I just wrote out a very brief Joe Bob rundown because I totally forgot about the fact that I do this.
All right. Let's hear it.
We'll see whether or not I continue to. So for the Joe Bob rundown, I have feet roll, fist melts, fly foo, refenestration, and maggot baby. Oh yeah, also vomit foo. So that's what I got on short notice.
I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, I mean it's great action, but it's a lot of, I don't know, reused scenes and stuff. So there's not a lot of like novelty, I suppose, in the situation or in the action.
I don't know about that, but I get what you're saying.
Or I guess maybe it's more that all the incredible things all happen via vomit or punching timbers. I guess I could have mentioned the timber punching.
Oh well.
Does this look unhealthy to you? I love that part. She's like, "Stop it! You're destroying the house."
It's so good.
It's great. Okay, so yeah, I think that's everything. Anything else you want to say before we're out of here?
I think we pretty much covered it.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for listening. We will see you next time on Gorman on Gore.
Later.
Oh, look at this. What's this? I don't know.